Welcome to A2 lesson 41. We're going to be looking at the table of grammar contents of A2. Let's start with the verb tense overview. To do the overview of all the verb tenses that we have learned so far at A2 level. We learned the present tense, we learned the present simple, and the present simple is that we use it for habits, routines, and schedules, things which are always true. If something is always true, that's when we use the present simple. And when we go into the present continuous, we are simply dealing with an activity happening now. What is going on now, this time, at this time now, what's happening? And in that case, we use it for those activities currently true. And when we go into the structures, the present simple use subject plus V1. Remember, V1 is the base form of the verb, and when we do it like that on subject he, she, it, which is the third person singular, we add s or es to the verb. And the structure for the present continuous is subject plus is are plus verb ing form. And remember to always follow the structures when you're constructing a sentence. It helps a lot. And when we got into the past tense, we learned what we call the past simple. And the past simple was comparing the finished action. The action is finished, we have a specific time in the past. And in this case, we have subject plus V2. V2 is the past form of the verb. And remember, we have regular verbs and irregular verbs. The V2 of regular verbs, they are just ed. Walk, walked, work, worked, visit, visited, like that. We just add ed. But for the irregular verb, it's just a memorized form. We don't have a fixed structure of the form. In that case, we shall be having like teach, the V2 is taught. Go, V2 is went. Kind of things like that. They just change. You just have to memorize them and try to learn them more so that you can be able to understand. When we say drive, drove, it simply means that you just have to learn them so that you can be able to know the V2. Subject V2 for the past simple. When you get into the past continuous, we are simply dealing with the action going on, but on a past time. The action is happening, but not now. Remember, present continuous is action happening now, but past continuous is an action happening at a specific time in the past. The time was in the past when the activity was happening. The structure is subject plus was or were plus verb ing form. Was is for I, he, she, it. Where is for you, we, they. Then you remember to add the verb ing form. When we go into the future, we have future with will, future with be going to, future with the present continuous. Future with the will. We use future with the will for an action or decision made now. The decision is taken. The decision is taken now, at this time. When you make a decision without prior notice, prior planning, you use will. And we also use will for prediction with no evidence. You are going to make a prediction, but currently don't have enough evidence for the prediction. In that case, you use will. And we can also use will for promises. And when we get into be going to, we use be going to for a planned intentions and plans. When something is something which was planned before time, we had plan of that thing before. In that case, we use be going to. When we have plans for something planned before a certain time, in that case, we use be going to. And again, we can use be going to for predictions. But what kind of predictions? Now we are making predictions based on evidence. We have evidence of what we are predicting. Remember, will is prediction based on what we believe or what we see. We don't have evidence. But be going to, we make a prediction with an evidence or with understandable facts. And present continuous for future. Here above, I didn't tell you about that, but here is the thing. We can use present continuous when we talk about future, but what kind of future? It is a planned, or it is a schedule. It means like something is going to happen, but not now, but at a future time. In that case, we have the structure of saying that it's a temporary. We also use a present continuous for temporary events, something which is happening for a short moment of time. But the one we use for future is to say that it is simply used for the near future. That's when we like to use present continuous for future. For example, the thing you should know and that you need to know is that when you talk about present continuous for future, it should have a specific time and a specific place. Simply means that we like to use it for appointments and meetings. The structure for will is subject plus will plus v1, which is the base verb. Be going to, we use subject plus is, are plus going to plus v1. Remember, this going to is not the verb of this tense. The verb is what follows going to, is what we put after that. Subject plus is, are plus going to, and then you add the verb v1. Present continuous for future is subject plus is, are plus verb ing form. Just the simple, they're the same as the present continuous tense for the action happening at that time. The same structure. When you get into the perfect, we have the present perfect. We learned present perfect, and we say that the present perfect talks about unfinished time. Unfinished time. When you say this month and we are still in that month, it means that the time is not finished. When you say today and maybe the day is not over yet, that is unfinished time. So we like to use the present perfect to talk about unfinished time, or simply to make it way more easy, it means like it is used for an action that happened in the past but without a specific time of the action. I hope you understand that. Let me give you an example. When I say I have eaten, do you know when I ate? No. We use it for experience, we use it for unfinished time, and we use it for results now, when we have results at this time. How do we formulate or structure the present perfect? It is subject plus has or have plus v3. v3 is the past participle of the verb. How do we compare the two, present perfect and the past simple? Past simple has finished time, means the time is finished, but this one is unfinished time. The time is not finished yet. When I say I visited Kenya last year, means the time is finished. Last year is already ended and then we are in the new year. And when I say I have visited Kenya, in that case I don't mention the time. No, you don't know when I visited Kenya. It's just an experience that I have. We have also reviewed all the past, all the pre-intermediate verb tenses, where we went back and saw present simple, present continuous, past simple, past continuous, future with will, future with be going to, future using present continuous. We also saw the present perfect and even the comparison of present perfect with the past simple. Let's see the sentence structures. We have learned how to ask questions. We have seen that we have what we call the be question. We have what we call prepositional question, we have what we call subject question, we have object question, and we have what we call WH questions. All those are what we have learned, but let me help you to do a quick review of that. Asking question, let's start with the be question. When we say be question, we mean simply to use verb to be in the start of the question. That is the present simple or verb to be question. We use subject plus is, are, then it is followed by a noun or an adjective. Are you happy? Are you a teacher? Like that. Subject plus is, are plus noun or you just add an adjective. Remember, an adjective talks about feelings, numbers, shape, color, origin, kind of. And when we get into the yes no question, this is a question we ask and the answer should be yes or the answer should be no. And in that case, in that situation, when we say a yes no question, we ask using do or does for the present, and then we're going to pass to use did. Then we add subject plus verb. Did you eat? Did you cook? Did they speak? Like that. Simply it is subject plus it's auxiliary plus auxiliary. When I say auxiliary, that's do, does, did. Auxiliary or have or has, any auxiliary plus subject, then you add the verb. And that was for the yes no question. When you get into the WH question, the WH question is simply to use WH before the auxiliary verb. As I told you, auxiliary we have do, does, did, have, has, all those, can, could. Take WH. WH can be what for things, who for people, where for place, when for time, how for method or way. Then you add do or does or did. Then you add subject plus verb. Example: what did you eat? What is your name? You hear that? And we have said that when you say subject question, it is a question we ask when we want to know the person doing the action. Example: who teaches French? And we said in a subject question we don't use do, does, did. We don't do that. We don't use that. What is your name? There's no do. Who taught you French? There is no do or does or did. In that case, we want to know the person doing the action. And when we reach into the object question, we are intended to look at the receiver of the action. Who is receiving the action? Who is benefiting from the action? In that case, we take the of WH plus do or does or did plus subject plus verb. Example, I can say, what did you bring? WH plus do or does the auxiliary, then you add subject, you add verb. In this case, for the object questions, you simply understand that they use do or does or did. We want to know the person who receives the action. Who do you help? Means like it is you doing an action to another person. Who did you see? Who did you meet? I want to know the person who received the action, not the one who did the action, the one who received the action. And we also learned what we call the preposition question. Prepositional questions, they start or end with a preposition, but at this level we are learning the ones that ends with a preposition. What are you thinking about? Who are you looking at? What are you talking? What do you want? No. Who did you meet? Where are you from? Who did you meet was a subject. And where are you from? When we end with a preposition, that's a prepositional question. And we also learned what we call the word order. The word order, we say that English follows a structured form. The structured order. In that case, we take the structured way of formulating things and statement, and we say that we have subject plus verb plus object as the basic structure. Subject plus verb plus object. And we say that there is another second structure, which is subject plus verb plus object plus PT, place and time. When you have a place and time, start with a place then time. Many people like to start with a place with time and then they continue subject, verb, and everything. But the basic structure is to take subject, verb, object, place, and then time. We have learned to express purpose using to and for, where we say that here is the transfer. and here we use for reason. When you say transfer, I gave a letter to my friend. That's a transfer from me to my friend. And when you say for, I wrote a letter for my friend. Here it's when you say purpose is the reason why you do something, and we use to for transfers and we use for the reason. And simply when you say relative clause, that is to start a clause. Remember, a clause is a group of sentences having a group of words having subject and verb. And in that case, we learned we use who for people, we use which on things, we use that for things or people, we use where for places. You have also learned what we call repeated speech. Repeated speech is saying what someone said without directly quoting or repeating their exact thing, the exact word they said. And remember, we have learned that in that case, there is what we call backshifting. Backshifting is the way we change the tenses, the way the tenses change. The tenses change like when you have when the speaker uses present simple and you're going to report, you would use past simple. When they report using present continuous, for you report using the past continuous, and you have to do a difference every time. And that's what we call the backshifting thing. And there is what we call the time change. The time change, if they say today and your report is saying that day. If the speaker said tomorrow, then your report saying the next day. And we also learned verbs with two objects, where we say that it can have a direct object plus indirect object. We said the direct object is the thing. Indirect object is a person. And we said that when we start with a person, you take person plus a thing. But when you start with a thing, with what we call the direct object, you need to put two preposition. You need to add a preposition, then you add the indirect object. The modal and the semi-modal, we have learned how to use have to and don't have to express the obligation or necessity. We learned must and mustn't as a strong obligation or a strong rule, and even personal rule. Should and shouldn't to give advice, may or might to express possibilities, where I say that may is slightly higher than might, and might, but might expresses weaker possibility and may expresses a stronger possibility. Might not is a weak negative possibility. We also learned what we call verb patterns. When we say the verb patterns, we learned what we call infinitives and gerunds. Infinitive is to plus verb. And we say that there are verbs followed by infinitive, and at those verbs we saw a list of some of them: need, want, yeah, promise, like that. In that case, for the infinitive, just need to know that an infinitive we take some those verbs that we saw, we add we add the v1 of the verb without changing anything. And we see that in that case, we don't change anything on the verb, like adding e or es. We don't do that. And we also learned what we call gerunds. Gerund is a verb plus ing form. We saw verbs followed by gerunds, and we also saw some of them like, enjoy. Again, we saw what we call the mixed pattern. When we say mixed pattern, these are verbs that can take either gerund or infinitive without changing the meaning. Example, said start. I can say start to rain, start raining. The same meaning, no changes. And we also saw that there are other verbs which can take different meaning when you change the verb tense. When you use gerund, the meaning changes from when you use an infinitive. And among those verbs, you said remember, try, stop. When you say stop with a gerund, is different from stop with infinitive. The meaning is different and totally different. We also learned phrasal verbs, where we say that phrasal verbs we have transitive and intransitive. And when you go into uh, the transitive, means like the transitive, they don't need an object. Transitive, they require no object. They are enough on their own. Remember, phrasal verb is made by with a verb plus a preposition or adverb. The preposition or adverb is simply the particle of the verb. And in that case, we say that transitive, they don't need an object. Example: stand up, go out, sit down, come here. In that case, we don't need no, come here. No, I said, for example, wake up. In that case, we don't need any kind of object to add. Can you say wake up, bed? No, that could be wrong. And we say intransitive phrasal verb is also categorized into two categories. We have separable intransitive verb and inseparable intransitive verb. In that case, what do we have? We have separable. We can put the object in the middle. Example, if I say turn off the TV, I can put TV in the middle. I say turn the TV off, and the same and it's okay with that. It still makes sense. And we say that when you have a pronoun, please remember the pronoun is always in the middle, never after the completion of the phrasal verb. And when you say the inseparable, these ones you can't put the object in the middle. The particle and the verb stays together. They are never separate. For example, take care of. You can say I take care of my sister, but I can't say I take my sister. I take care my sister of. You can't do that. Can't be. We also learned what we call stative verb and dynamic verb. Where is that? Stative verb is an action verb. We cannot see it, we cannot measure it. For example, think, believe, know. But when you say dynamic verb, the dynamic verbs, they are what we call the action verbs. They talk about the action, the activity which we can see or we can measure, like dance, go, walk, like that. We also learned nouns, quantifiers, and articles. In articles, we learned a, n, they, and no article, and how to use them. Remember, a and n, we use them before singular countable nouns, and we use they for unique nouns when they are only one, and we use they when we are talking about specific thing where the speaker and the listener knows what is being referred to. And we also use it for plural countable and plural uncountable when they are known. And we also learned the use of no article. We can put article in less subjects in language where in uncountable noun, when we are speaking about them generally, we can't just put the article. In that way, you just need to know when you should put the article and when you shouldn't put the article. And we also learned quantifiers: much, which is used for uncountable; many, which is used for plural countable; some is used in positive sentences and in a polite request; to use any in negative sentences and in questions; little to express positive, to express negative uncountable is used in negative mostly. A few is also used for countable, but in a negative way. When we say a little is the one we use in a positive way. A few is the one we use in a positive way. Too much and too many and too, we say too much when they express like abundance of something. Like we have a lot of things than we should have. They use these things to express the problem with the quantity. Like when we say too much is used for the uncountable, too many is used for countable, and too is used with an adjective. It is used together with an adjective. And when we say too much, too many is followed by a noun. Enough, is followed by a noun. Enough is followed by a noun. Most of them, the most is they are used to express like the majority. They express majority of thing. Most is followed by a noun. Most of means like is a specific as a specific group. Now this is more general, but this is more specific. I can say most people like music. That's generally the majority of people like music. But you say most of my friends like music. Now I mean not everyone. No, not anyone. Just in my circle, in my friends, in the circle of my friends. That's where I'm specifically talking about. The most we use it in superlative. Something, anything, nothing. They're called indefinite pronouns. They talk about things without specifically aiming and specifically highlighting the real thing being said. We remember we use I said that here we use some in positive sentences. The same with something. It is used in positive sentences. Anything is used in negative and in questions. Nothing can be used in positive but with a negative meaning. We also learned adjective and adverb, where we learned comparative adjectives. Comparative adjective, we are comparing two things. And when we compare those two things, we mean like one is greater than the other one. In comparative, we have what we call short adjectives and long adjectives. When we say short adjectives, these are words having one syllable. And remember, we learned how to see a syllable by clapping. Example of adjectives which are short adjectives: small, tall, big, far. You hear that? In that case, what do? Just take the adjective, we add er. That's why you see bigger. We just took big, we added er. But this is a special for adding double G. We add er. A small, we add er, smaller. Fat, we add er, fatter. And when we have long adjective, we take the adjective plus more, we take more plus that adjective. Long adjective are made by two or more syllables. A syllable is a hand clap. As simply to identify, you just make a hand clap. Example, I can say important. Important. You hear it's like made of three syllables. Important. Important. Three syllables. And in that case, you just take more important, more expensive, more interesting, like that. And when you get into the superlative adjectives, in this case now we're talking about the top level of something. In this case, you just take the plus adjective plus est. For the short, we say the biggest, the fastest, the farthest, the shortest. And when we go into the long adjective, the most is the one we use. The most plus that adjective. The most beautiful, the most expensive, the most important, the most interesting, the most amazing. And there is what we call comparative adverbs. For adverbs, we just take the same the same thing with the same structure with the ones that we saw here. Er, then more. For long, we just say more. We say, for example, except for hard, which is the same for adjective and even for adverb, and even fast. Fast can be an adjective, can also be an adverb. Other ones, we just say more. Faster than, more slowly. Superlative, the same structure is followed: the fastest, the most slowly. We have what we call the ed adjectives and the ing adjectives. The ed adjectives, they just tell you the feeling a person has. How are you feeling? I'm tired. How are you feeling? I am amazed. How are you feeling? I am interested. How are you feeling? I am bored. How are you feeling? I am like that, like that, like that. And when you say the ing adjective, they describe the cause of the feeling. The cause of the feeling. When you talk about people, think about ed adjective. When we talk about things, think about ing adjective. Boring, amazing, interesting. The cause of feeling somehow. When you talk about things, use the ing adjective. The movie is boring, but he is bored. He, because it is a guy we are talking about, we say bored. But when I say movie, because movie is a thing, we say boring. To and enough. We use to and enough to express, to talk about the quantity or the, the, the satisfaction. To, it is used to express extreme thing. Enough means like sufficient of something. Too slow means like so slow. First means like first enough means like it is okay, sufficient. You see the pronouns. We learned what we call the subject pronoun, where I say I, you, he, she, it, we, they. And we learned also what we call the object pronoun, where you say me, you, him, her, it, us, them. We also learned what we call the possessive adjective, my, your, his, her, its, our, their. Reflexive pronoun, myself, yourself, himself, ourselves, themselves, like that. And indefinite pronoun, someone, something, anyone. And by the way, these pronouns are things you should know because you will need them more often when you are trying to make sentences and when you're communicating with people. In speaking, these things matters most because they convey a message. I urge you to try to go back into the pronouns and possessive adjectives thing to learn them more and be able to understand how they are used. And we also learned prepositions. We learned preposition of time. During means like in the middle of something. For is followed by time. While is for the actions happening at the same time. We also learned prepositions of movement, where we learned along, following the same line of something, across from one side to the other side, over, which was above the thing without touching. And through means like to from one end to the other, passing in something. And we also learned the preposition of place, between, next to, in front of. We also learned prepositions in questions. What are you talking about? Remember the prepositional questions that we learned. Special grammar points here. We also learned used it to and didn't use to. These are past habits and past states, things which were true in the past but they are no longer true now. We learned what we call the passive, the present passive and the past passive. In this case, we're trying to be more objective, focusing on the object other than the subject. Example, we say that in this case we have B plus V3. Remember, it is B plus V3. B plus past participle. The font was made in India. You see, we have was, which is B, then made, V3. Object plus verb to be plus V3. So and neither, these are called the verb agreements, where you agree with a person. If they're saying the same thing and you agree with them, just use so. And when you disagree with what they are disagreeing, you use neither. No longer, any longer, anymore. So these things talks about the same thing. Means like something is not true now. I no longer live there. On time, in time. This when you say on time means the exact time. In time means early enough. At the end and in the end. We use at the end for the location, like the final part. And when you say in the end, means finally, after many steps or after many changes. Do versus make, we said we also saw the difference between do and make. We saw the different uses of get, simply to mean to reach, to buy, to understand, and many others. In this quiz, we're going to write one sentence using used it to. You're going to write the first conditional, because we also have the first conditional tense, at least make one first conditional tense. You write a sentence using too much. You are going to make a sentence using one phrasal verb, and you're going to make a sentence using have to. You're going to write a sentence using the present perfect. You're going to write one sentence or statement having a relative clause, and you're going to use on time and in time correctly in examples. I hope to see you in B1.